it's Ian from RTO here. Hope you're all well and welcome to Tuesday's fantastic programming. Today we start off with an album ranking, and it's a band that's been in the laundry list, I think probably from day one, and I've just not got round to put it in the schedule. And I thought finally, I think it's on about my fourth page of my book. So I thought, right, we better do them. And the band we're talking about is an American rock band from Los Angeles, Tool. They're sort of rock, progressive metal sort of thing. Really good band. Formed in 1990 by James Keenan, who changed his name to Maynard James Keenan, Adam Jones, Danny Carey, and Paul D'Amour. Paul D'Amour only made one album with them, and then they brought in Justin Chancellor, and the band's been the same since 1995. They've won 4 Grammy Awards, performed worldwide tours, and to date they've released 5 albums. I like them all. They are all very good albums. There isn't a bad album with Tool. So this was difficult because I like the band, and it's very difficult to rank bands that you love every album. It's always difficult. So this is how I listen to them and how I like them. If yours is different, great, put it in the comments below. And we all listen to hear things differently, and we all got reasons why we have them in an order, you know, from the time they come out, etc., etc. So we're going to start at number 5, and coming in at number 5 is the most current album, and it was released in 2019, and it's called Fear Inoculum, and it's their first album in 13 years. And this was due to creative and personal and legal issues that the band members encountered. So on here we've got Maynard James Keenan on the vocals, Adam Jones on the guitars, Justin Chancellor on bass, and the magnificent Danny Carey on drums and synthesizer. First track is an epic, a 10-minute epic, title track, Fear Inoculum. Sorry. It's highlight of this is Danny Carey's drumming. He's one of the best in the business. He's a really great drummer. I just love the atmosphere on this. That bass line from Justin is really strong, and you've got Maynard's brilliant vocal. He is a terrific singer. Sings in all sorts of moods and swings. It's a fantastic track. What a track to open up an album, that you first album in 13 years, and they come up with a killer like that. And then we got Enema, or Enema, I don't know how you pronounce it. Again, some great riffs from Adam Jones. It's sort of all these riffs keep coming up, and it just sort of, then you get these little quirky bits all the way through the track. Again, it's 11 minutes long. Amazing track. Again, Danny Carey's drumming is on top form. Then we got a track called Lutin contre la peur. There's some keyboard on this, and it's Danny Carey sort of plays the synthesizer as well as drums. I don't know what he's done to this, but there's just the sound of that keyboard is amazing. Very eerie little piece. It's just amazing. And that goes into a track called Invincible. This is my favourite track on the album. This is another 12-minute epic. The drumming from Danny is absolutely brilliant. That double bass drum stuff is good, and the intricate drumming he does on it. Some great riffs in this. Solid track. And then we got Legion Inoculum. This is another of those little intricate atmospheric keyboard sound effects that comes off. Really, really good. Goes into another epic, Descending. Starts off with lots of sound effects. This sort of carries on from that Legion Inoculum. The vocal again is Danny's drumming. That bass as well from Justin. Very good engine room this tool have got. They work well together. Then we got Cullen voices. Another 10-minute track. Love Jason's Justin's bass line on this. Really drives the song. A little bit of keyboards in here as well that gives it a little bit of atmosphere. Excellent track. And then we got Chocolate Chip Trip. Very experimental, probably the worst track on the album. But the bonuses, the drumming is fantastic from Danny. That's the only highlight of that track, really. 7 Tempest. Another good track. Some great guitar work here from Mr. Jones. Very good guitar player. Really like that track. Then we get Mocking Beat, and it's just one of them weird tracks with lots of squawking birds and noises. Not particularly for me. I would say this is the most experimental album Tool have ever done. Though it's got some solid tracks on it, they do really push the boundaries on a couple of them. It's not a bad album, it's just different in places. And I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.5. Okay, then coming in at number 4, we go back to that debut album, Undertow, released in 1993. We've got it's got Maynard James Keenan vocals listed as Molesticator. Adam Jones is Bastardometer on the guitars. Paul Demore is listed as Bottom Feeder. And Danny Carey is listed as Membrane Phones. We've got additional vocals from Henry Rollins on bottom. First track is Intolerance. Now what strikes you about this track straight away is Danny Carey's drumming and the bass line from Paul Demore. Really strong track. Love that track. Then we get Prison Sex. There's a cheeky little guitar riff in this. Some great drumming. Maynard's vocals are pretty good. He is such a good singer. Sober. Great track. Lovely boomy heavy bass from Paul Demore. Some great riffing from Adam Jones. Terrific track. Then we get Bottom. This is my favourite track. This is the one that Henry Rollins does the additional vocals on. Danny's drumming's great again, and that really bassline driving the song along. Super stuff. Then we get Crawl About Away. Again, it's dominated by Danny Carey. And that Paul Demore bass line. Strong song. Swamp Song. A lot of Tool songs start off with bass and drums, but on this one it's Adam's guitar riffs that really make this song shine. Again, the vocals from Maynard, absolutely spot on. Really gives this track some atmosphere. Then we get the title track, Undertow. Great track, one of my favourites. That great riff at the start from Adam. A more aggressive, heavy drumming on this. Super track. Then we get 4 Maynard's vocal, very distinctive voice on this. Excellent track. Flood. I love the bass guitar on this again. And this has got some drumming with delicate touches from Danny. Not the heavy stuff, it's this very gentle stuff. Absolutely stunning stuff. Then we get a track that I'm not very keen on. It's called Disgust Parted. Longest track on the album. It's really weird. This is 6 minutes of noise and mute and grasshoppers. Why do we want to hear that? We don't. A solid album from top to bottom, except that last track. As far as I'm concerned, this album ended at Flood. I don't know what the concept of that last track was, but the first 9 tracks are fantastic, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3, we have the third album, released in 2001, and it's Laterus, whatever you want to pronounce it. We've got Maynard on the vocals, Adam on the guitars, Justin's on the bass, and the ever-present Danny Carey on the drums. First track on here is called The Grunge. What an opening. This is Justin Chance's bass line. Really starts the song off and sets it on its way. Danny comes in on the drums. Then you get this lovely riff. Throw in Maynard's vocals and you've got a really good track. Then we get Eon Blues Apocalypse. It's a little short instrumental piece from Adam Jones. Pretty good. It's only a minute, but it's nice guitar playing. Then we have The Patient. What was it? The Patient, sorry. Can't read my own, what I'm looking at here. Love the start of this. The guitar from Adam is terrific. Some nice effects on this. That riff keeps going all the way through the track, and everyone sort of hooks onto it. Another great vocal from Maynard. Really good. Then we get Mantra, which is a very short introduction really for the next track, which is Schism. And the drumming from Danny on this is just absolutely phenomenal. It's a very, very good song. I like the atmosphere on this, the textures. It's a very, very good track. Parabol is the next one. This is quite atmospheric again. A great bass line from Justin. That again, it's that it really goes into this bass line that everyone sort of hooks onto it and adds their bit to it. It's really good. And then we get Parabola or Parabella. Awesome track, my favourite. Now these tracks, Mantra, Schism, Parabella and Parabella, they're sort of all connected, and this to me is the pinnacle of this sort of mini movement, as I call it. Again, the drumming is brilliant, some great tracks. This is my favourite piece of these 4 that are sort of connected. Excellent stuff. Ticks and Leeches. This is a combination of progressive metal, heavy metal and thrash metal. It's got all these different genres of metal into one track. Absolutely brilliant how they do it. Solid track. Then we get Laterus. The vocal on this from Maynard is terrific. Shows what a good singer is. He's got that grungy sound, but he sort of mixes it in with the other sort of genres. I mean, there's some great progressive metal here. It's great. Danny is superb. I love listening to his drumming. Then we got Deposition. I love the use of the Indian drum. I think it's the Bangala drum, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not very good on culture, things like that, but I love the sound it creates on this song, and the guitar work works really well around it. Then we get an epic Reflection. Again, some great drumming on this. Moody sort of track, atmospheric. The vocal that really gives it that atmosphere. Terrific track. Then we get a little Triad. It's an instrumental. It's really good. Then you get 2 minutes of silence. I don't know what that's about. Lots of effects and guitar licks. It's really good when you hear some music, but then it goes into a silent bit. Now, I don't know how you pronounce this. Fiat d'Aid or Ode. Pointless little thing to end the album. It's just not my cup of tea. A great album. 2 minutes of silence, but the tracks are absolutely dynamite, especially that mini concept piece in the middle. It's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we go to the second album, released in 1996. This was Justin's first, and it's Enema. We've got Maynard on the vocals, Adam on the guitars, Justin on the bass, Danny on the drums. Got additional people on here. We've got David Bottrell on pianos, on A Message to Harry in keyboards, Urban Shelter organ on intermission, Marco Fox extra vocals on Die Ehe von Satan, and Chris Pittham synthesizers on Third Eye. First track on here is called Stinkfist. Now this is actually written by Paul D'Amour before he left the band with Keenan, Jones and Carey, but they still put the track on, so you've got a little bit of what's it called, royalties. There's one or two of these tracks that he writes. I love the industrial start to this. It's got really industrial drums, then it goes into some real heavy guitars, some great riffing on here from Adam. Then we get Ilugi or Ilugileli, something like that. Again, we've got this industrial drumming start. The muffled voice really sort of gives it atmosphere, and then you get that strong vocal coming through. Love that track. Then H, great bass line here from Justin, and it's got this little Russian sound to it as well. It's really, really strong. Then we got Useful Idiot. I love that. 30 seconds of nothing, but it just goes straight into the next track, which is 46 and 2. Another belter. The bass line from Justin. Got some delicate work on the drums from Danny. That back again, this constant bass line and drums that really drive the song along. Adam sort of just puts in with some of that riff through it. Great vocal from Maynard. Terrific track. Message to Harry, Man Back. Just a little, it's just a little bit of introduction. It sounds like Painted Black, to be honest. It's a bit bizarre. Now, how's this for a track? Gotta be careful. It's Hooker with a penis. Yeah, a bit controversial, but there you go. It's a sort of a Black Sabbath riff. I love the track though. It's absolutely brilliant. The solo on this is pretty good as well. Intermission doesn't really fit. It's all done on keyboards. It's a bit of fun, I suppose. Then we get my favourite track on here, Jimmy. Starts off a great riff for a minute, and then it just continues with great drumming and bass line. Pretty good vocal from Maynard. Then we get Die Ehe von Satan, which German is the eggs of Satan in English. Very industrial track, and yes, it's very Rammstein. There's nothing wrong with it. I like that track. Then you get Push It. This is a weird start, but the bass line sort of brings it down to Tools, sort of greatness, great guitar stuff. Really good track that one is. Then we get Serio Sublimity. Starts off with baby noises, vocal, guitar effects, all sorts of weirdness for 1 minute and 26. Then it goes into the title track, Enema. Another good track. The drums on here from Danny is probably his best on the album. The guitar work again. And it's got this soft progressive metal sound to it. It's a really strong track. Then we get Ions, and this is the obligatory weird sound effect from Tool. Nothing special about that. Third Eye. This goes a bit bizarre in the middle with all these effects coming in. They're throwing everything but the kitchen sink at that. But Adam and Danny really work well together. The solo's terrific. Take away the weirdness and it's a really good track. Yeah, if you take away all the weirdness, it's still a brilliant album. It's certainly a band that thinks outside the box. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10 because I think even the bizarreness is really adds to this crazy album, and I love it. Okay, my favourite is the fourth album, coming in at number 1. It was released in 2006 and it's called 10,000 Days. This will be their last album for 13 years. We've got Maynard as ever, Adam, who does guitars and sitar and talkbox on Jambai, Justin Chancellor on the bass and some additional guitar work, Danny Carey on the percussion and drums and tabla. We've got guest musicians, weather effects by Lust Maud, Bill McConnell vocals on Lip Pan Conjuring, Pete Rolding does the voice of Dr. Watson, Camilla Grace is the voice of the nurse on Lost Keys. And the first track on here is Vicarious. I love the start of this. I love that industrial bell. And then in comes Danny on the drums. The riff is so good on this. Love it. Jambai. Now this is a fantastic start. That riff and bass. It's so thrash metal. Danny's drumming comes in, and then you get the voice box. It really gives it some tool weirdness with some brilliant lyric. Brilliant stuff. Love that track. Wings for Marie Part 1. Now this is quite interesting track. It's got atmospheric guitars and vocals, very prog in places, very eerie but really good. Then we get 10,000 Days, which is Wings Part 2. Just a continuation from the last track. The bass line from Justin is incredible, really gives it atmosphere again. Adam's guitar work on that whole Wings for Marie 1,000 Days is awesome. Then we get the favourite track on here, The Pot. What I like about this, that bass line is brilliant. The riff. Now Adam comes up with some great riffs, intricate as well, very very good. Then we get Lip Pan Conjuring. This is interesting vocal from Bill McConnell. It's done more in the chanting of a native North American Indian. It's really really good. Then we get Lost Keys, which is Blame Hoffman in brackets. Just love the guitar work on this. The solo in the middle is really good. This has got Camilla Grace doing the nurse. Again, it just adds a bit of atmosphere. Rosetta Stoned. This literally comes straight in from Lost Keys. It sort of goes into it. This is the epic on the album. It's my second favourite track. You get that little bit of feedback. The drumming on here is amazing from Danny. You have to listen to that under the headphones just to feel the vibe that Danny's drumming gives you on that. It's a superb track. And then we get Intention. We've now gone to a little bit from going from really heavy ground hitting bass and strong riffs to this very melodic rock track with bongos and nice gentle guitars in it. Still a little bit of that heavy overtones in it, but it really works, and I really like that album track. And I've just hit the button and it's sent me back to the beginning of my script. Sorry. There we go. Then we get another track that's about 8 minutes long called Right Into Two. A great use of the tambula drum. Danny Carey really gives it some atmosphere with that. It's a very good track. Then we get Vigilante Trees, and like every Tool album, it wouldn't be an album without a nonsense track at the very end. It is. It's just noises and weirdness. But it's a very strong track. I mean, the last one's just one of them bizarre things they put at the end. But the whole concept of this album is brilliant. I play this one to death. Really like this one. Remember when it came out? Kept playing it. One of my favourite albums from that time. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Well, there we go. I finally got Tool done. It's only been sitting there for over 12 months in the laundry list. But it's just getting them all in. These are when I first came up with ideas. Just writing down bands that I quite like and I'd like to do an album ranking on. And because you guys keep giving me lots to do, these sort of things get lost. And I was going through it and thought, right, we're going to do Tool. Okay, that's part one of today done. Got retro ranking coming up a little bit later, and this week it's another tribute. We're doing a tribute to Judith Durham, who was in the Seekers. So I'm going to pick my favourite Seeker songs because it's a sort of a band that really goes back to my, not my teens, but my sort of from about 8 or 9 onwards. Remember, I mean, this album was played in our house. We'll talk about that later. So join me there if you like a little bit of 60s folk music. Bye for now.